you know that for 15 years, I worked as an executive coach to CEO founders and their executive teams at 300 organizations before I received a full scholarship to attend Harvard. And in that time, I did extensive training all over the world to study successful self made business people who went from absolute poverty to multimillionaire status by the time they were 40 years old. Crazy geniuses, innovators, industry disruptors, change makers, and pioneers. That's my forte. And that's where I lived for 15 years nonstop. I lived in their ecosystem and their biosphere. I lived and breathed their struggle to be in the sun. They confided in me the same thing that I hear famous billionaires saying at Davos on TED Talks and podcasts. I hear the same things over and over again and have distilled them into three things that are counterintuitive and not common knowledge. Rule number one: almost every single young self made billionaire says that willpower can do the impossible. The difference between them and everyone else is that they never gave up. No matter what anyone told them, they just would not give up. Bruce Lee says the successful warrior is just an average man with laser like focus. I heard that so many times. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. Give me a CEO who's under 30 or between 30 and 40 who has an empire. He's always telling me that. He's always saying, I'm the average guy. I'm not more talented. Look, I'm not taller. I'm not bigger. I'm not strong. I'm not even smarter. I'm just average. But no one works harder than me. And they also say, he who wants it the most wins. And for the professional athletes I coached, they say that when they're in the ring, that guy could be a much better athlete than they are. But if the moment they step on the mat, they want it more than that guy, they'll win. Do you know who Margaret Cho is? So 21, that's awesome. 21 years ago, she had the first Asian American sitcom on television. So she's a stand-up comedian. She's been doing comedy a long time. And she says that she observes that the comedians who make it and become successful are not the funniest. The funniest ones gave up a long time ago because it's such a difficult road to be a comedian. And she says the ones who made it didn't just give up. They just kept at it. You know what I mean? They just didn't give up. That's all it takes. If you want something, you just don't give up. Yogananda says that when your will is so strong, it becomes God's will. Please write that in your journal. When my will is so strong, it becomes God's will. Thanks for that comment, Dr. Rach. Rule number two: be obsessed. It's not a good quality that people think, but it is. If you want something, obsess over it. Please write in your journal, if I want something, obsess over it. You want to sell your film script. You want more coaching clients. You need to heal from this sarcoma or this cancer in your breast. You want to bring in abundance and money. Be obsessed with it. Because when you're obsessed, you laser focus in on one thing and everything else in your life disappears. You can't think about anything except that one thing that you obsess over. Bruce Lee says, I fear not the man who's practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. Malcolm Gladwell says the same thing in his book, The Tipping Point. What separates the top 1% from the bottom 99%? It's 10,000 hours. So that's anywhere between 6 to 14 years of doing one thing repeatedly. It's obsession with a single idea, a single goal. Do you know who Mr. Beast is? He's the most watched YouTuber in the world. He has 382 million followers. He's 26 years old. He's worth $500 million. Him and his single mother were homeless and broke. And even as a child, he had this one goal. He wanted to be a YouTuber. And when Stephen Bartlett from the Diary of a CEO podcast asks him, how did you do that? I mean, as a teenager, amass so many followers. And Mr. B says, I'm really good at obsessing over one thing more than anyone else on the planet. Like, I don't think three different thoughts. I think one thought 3 million times a day. One thought. And that's the same thing as praying incessantly. It's making your will divine will. Mr. B says, it feels like it was just in my DNA and my bloodstream. Like my mom hated it. Growing up, we'd always argue. She has this thing where she says, once Jimmy sets his mind to something, he just never stops. It's fanatical, obsessive. People will brand you a lunatic. Of course, you're doing the impossible. You are literally making your will God's will. Almost every single one of these young self-made billionaires say that the reason they could endure and sail through crushing setbacks is because they learned to use their pain to focus. In fact, the harder it got, the worse it seems, the more motivated they became. It was kind of like for them, the pain was just trapped energy. And instead of numbing it, they tapped into it and they used it as fuel. And it became their motivation. And every time life got easier, more comfortable, they started to relax and make mistakes, they would remind themselves of that pain. And I'll tell you something about pain. It purifies you. It's like refiner's fire purifying the gold. And most of us, especially me, hate pain, but self-made billionaires learn to use even the things that they hate and find a use for them. Talk about recycling energy par excellence. They don't even waste the pain. They use it. Pain keeps them obsessed. Because when you're in pain, you are not looking left. Trust me, you are not looking right. Girl, you looking straight ahead and you are dropping dead weight and all the dirty stuffs and all the distractions as you go. You are not getting distracted because you in pain and you have one goal. And they have learned to make pain their friend. Okay, rule number 3, don't try to be balanced. Just get it done. You can rebalance later, but you will never feel this motivated again. In other words, don't put out your fire. If anything, fuel it, like fuel it. If you really want something, don't try to pace yourself. Go for the gold. Risk everything, because even if you lose everything, you create momentum. Small failures create no momentum. Bruce Lee says, don't fear failure. In great attempts, it is glorious even to fail. Failing big is glorious because it creates momentum. Think of Rosa Parks. She did not get to sit in the front of the bus. She failed that day. In fact, she got arrested. She went to jail. And her failure created so much momentum, it changed the course of history. You want to create momentum. You want to make waves. It's not about being balanced. It's about getting to the tipping point where once you get yourself in the exact correct position, you can tip the scales in your favor. You don't want balance. Babe, you want an avalanche that causes everything on that mountain to come cascading down in your direction. Because you're not going to achieve your goal on your own, I swear to you. You're going to create so much momentum. That momentum is going to carry you to your goal. So don't worry about being a late bloomer. Don't worry about your failure to launch. You're 60, still figuring it out. You're 70, still learning the basics. It doesn't matter. Being balanced and grounded and stable doesn't matter when you're creating momentum. You need to be balanced, grounded, and stable when you're not going anywhere, not going nowhere, nada, staying right here. But if you're massively trying to reach a goal, you gotta create momentum to carry you to your goal. Momentum is the key. It's not balance, not stability, but moving. Just keep it moving, keep moving the energy. So if you don't like the way your relationship with someone is right now, you don't like the way you're being treated at your job right now, you don't like all the rejections you're getting on your film script, who cares? A week from now, a month from now, a year from now, it's all going to change. Everything is going to get swept up in the momentum you create, that it's going to tip and start avalanching in your direction. So who cares? Who cares if you don't like something right now? Everything is going to get swept up in your avalanche as long as you're creating momentum. So put your haters on mute, because what they're saying may be true today is not going to be true tomorrow. Don't even bother communicating with them. Just create momentum.